dealt with an inmate that had a tray in his hand, and they were going back and back with each other, and he grabbed the inmate's hand and twisted it back. There was no prosecution or anything, wasn't written up, nothing had occurred as a result of that. He's been in law enforcement for 12 years, and this is the incident that has occurred, but the one counselor had dubbed it PTSD, probably from law enforcement experiences. The other, with the psychiatrist and the counselor, has it as an explosive disorder. Either of which is a mental health disease that needs to be addressed. And he acknowledges that, and he has been seeking treatment. And it's not his desire, nor was it from the beginning, that I'll just go to a few sessions and let him take care of everything. No, he wants to get deeper into it and find out why. There are some explanations in those records about the way he was treated as a child and things like that they were bringing out. But again, I think anybody that knows anything about counseling is if everything was taken care of in the first couple of sessions, psychiatrists, psychologists, mental health counselors would be out of business. It goes on for quite a while, and you got to get to the root of it, and they're nowhere near that with him, and it does need to continue. The excerpts are nothing but their isolation of what occurred. The court has looked at this from the stop out on the roadway where she's run into the rear of a motorcycle, her behavior out there. One of the officers out there even told her to shut the F up. She just wouldn't stop, said, you're interfering with everything that we're doing. Also in that,
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Good afternoon to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It is 4 o'clock, and that means it's time for today's Top 4 at 4, where we break down 4 of the big stories that we are tracking in the Fox 35 newsroom this afternoon. And joining me for today's Top 4 at 4 is Fox 35 News anchor LuAnne Sorrell. And LuAnne, thanks for being here.
Yeah, happy Friday, Garrett.
Happy Friday to you. So we begin with a story where we heard from the governor, several other state officials today talking about deportation flights beginning from Alligator Alcatraz.
Yeah, the governor held a news conference down at the detention center earlier today. He says so far they have flown out 100 detainees and more flights will be happening. He said the reason he's able to do this so quickly is because at Alligator Alcatraz, there is that landing strip. So planes, commercial size planes, can actually take off and land at that facility. So he says this is just the beginning. He's been carrying out President Trump's deportation plan from South Florida.
We have heard complaints from people, from attorneys representing clients there, who have talked about not being able to meet with their clients in person. Sounds like that is going to be coming soon, I believe Monday. They're also looking to get an immigration judge on site that they said would kind of be able to help expedite the process as well. They said really their goal is to really kind of get things moving at this point. There's also been a lot of talk about what happens in a hurricane and some of the vulnerabilities of that site if there were to be a strong hurricane. And that was a question, that was something that was a topic that Kevin Guthrie, the director of the Division of Emergency Management, talked about during that news conference earlier today. And here's what he said to address that.
I know that I've taken a little bit of heat in the media that the EM guy is not taking care of hurricane season. That is absolutely, unequivocally false. When we have 1,000, I need to make sure we have room for 1,000. When we go to 2,000, I need to make sure we have room for 2,000. And yes, I may have visited some facilities in the state of Florida. Why? Because this facility, as I've said on the record, can withstand category winds of up to category 2. But there's a category 3 and a 4 and a 5. And I hate to talk to you so elementary, but unfortunately we have to break some things down into simple building blocks for other people. Category 3, 4, and 5 is greater than and not equal to a category 2. when we have that situation, we will have to do an evacuation.
And so that's also interesting to think about. Hopefully we don't see
Right. We don't
a
want
major
that.
hurricane this year, but if we do, and that's something, that's a lot more logistical questions, about
Yeah.
what an evacuation of that
How do
place
you
looked
get 'em
like
out
with
of
so
there?
many people
Where do they go?
being held there. And
Yeah.
so it will be interesting to see what happens with that. But sounds like the wheels are really beginning to turn there at Alligator
Definitely.
Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Story number 2, and that was a former Ormond Beach police officer entering a no contest plea to felony battery.
Yeah, serious charges for this former police officer, but this was seriously disturbing video that we got to see. This happened earlier last month. That is former officer Jacob Cannon allegedly slamming a female suspect down to the ground while she was handcuffed. She ended up having a serious head injury. She needed 7 stitches to her face. She was in custody for an alleged DUI. But when you watch that video, it really kind of shocks you a little bit to see a big old man slamming a small woman like that head first, into the ground. She was in court today as well. She had a few things to say to that former police officer. But as you said, he pleaded no contest to charges of felony battery. He's going to be sentenced next Tuesday. And he actually apologized in court today as well.
Exactly, and I do want to play a little bit of what we heard from both that victim and from Cannon, who, as you mentioned, both did speak during that hearing earlier this afternoon.
I have people ask me what happened all the time. Whenever I take pictures, it's visible. I see it like plain as day. I think about when my son gets married, pictures. It's just going to be there, and it's just a constant reminder, and it's a disfigurement. I mean, I'll have it for the rest of my life.
Does that bother you?
Yes.
Well, we're here today for sentencing. I kind of explained that to you, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And is there anything that you'd like to say to the judge about what you would like to see happen today?
I would like to see him, of course, no longer be a police officer. I think some jail time is appropriate. I hope he gets some anger management or some kind of evaluation, so he doesn't do this to anybody else.
I have 2 small children that depend on me, and I have one that's 5, he'll be 6 in a couple weeks, and I have a 7-month-old. My wife, she does work, but taking me out of the home is extremely detrimental to our finances. I bring in more than 80% of the household income, and any time away from them, including just this week alone, it would set me back at least a month, if not more. But being out of the home at any additional time, we will lose our home. We'll lose the things that we have, and it's not fair to her or my family to have to continue to try to support me somewhere else while they're trying to get their stuff together elsewhere.
Okay. And how long have you been in custody?
I turned myself in Monday.
You heard him say he turned himself in on Monday, so back behind bars in this case, and as you mentioned, was not sentenced today. The judge said that she wants to look over some of the medical records, some of the documentation that they got today before she makes a decision on that. But his defense attorney also asking for leniency for him, saying that he wants the judge to consider kind of the full circumstances and everything that led up to that, as well. Some of the, some to take into consideration some of what the victim was saying to the officer in this, and a number of other things.
She kind of
as
was
well.
having a tirade there in the holding cell, right? Screaming and yelling and screaming obscenities at him.
Yes, and so his defense attorney was saying, I'm not saying what he did was defensible, but asking for that to be considered. So we will see. He does face up to, I believe it's 5 years in prison is the maximum. So we'll see where what the judge ends up deciding with that. Meanwhile, a bizarre story out of Lake County, LuAnne.
Crazy one, yeah. This happened near Claremont. A home just destroyed. it's demolished. There's an SUV right next to it that's destroyed as well. No one knows who did this or why they did it. You can see it's a manufactured home, but it appears some type of large excavator or something was driven into the home. We have Hannah McKenzie up in Lake County right now trying to piece together the puzzle on who did this and why. Now, we blurred out something that was spray painted on the side of that home because it is a little explicit. It says, "You bleeped," expletive, "with the wrong woman." So it almost appears by that a woman may have done this to the home. But like I said, Garrett, we're trying to figure out this mystery because it's a really bizarre scene to see.
It really is, and still, like you said, a mystery in a lot of ways. We did get the 911 call, someone passing by and reporting this. Take a listen.
There's like a house that's there that was completely, it looks like it's been completely vandalized, like completely destroyed. Like somebody has smashed it to pieces, and the car that's parked outside is also smashed. It's crazy because we drive by here every day and we've seen this house actually get built, and so now that it's built, it's completely destroyed.
And it is crazy because, look, I mean, we're not just talking a little bit of damage here. That is a lot of damage.
Oh yeah, they're gonna have to tear that thing down. It is not salvageable at this point. But it's weird that no one saw or heard anything and called it when it was happening. It looks like it's pretty remote. You don't see, any homes close by, but it's hard to believe that no one was driving on the road. This would have taken a while to actually do all that. You can see it's like 4, 5, 6, 7 chunks just on that one side.
Yeah.
Taken out of the building. So yeah, interesting that no one saw it actually happening when it did happen.
It's going to be very interesting when we finally do get some answers.
Right.
So we are going to check in with Hannah in a little bit and see what she's been able to learn. So hopefully an update on that shortly.
Yeah.
And story number 4 today, and the success of the Lake Mary Little League program continues. The softball team today advancing to the World Series as well.
Yeah, my son and I were actually watching this at home today before I came into work. So much fun. The Lake Mary 12U softball girls are now heading to the World Series, Little League World Series bound. And of course, you'll remember that last year the boys won the baseball World Series. So yeah, it's fun cheering on our girls. I don't know what's in the water in Lake Mary, but it's something that breeds athletes for sure. Because to have both teams, the boys won again the Southeast region, or they're they're headed there. Yep. And so, both of our boys and our girls are doing extraordinarily well. They crushed Virginia today, 8-1. They had 5 runs in the first inning. My son and I are like, whoa, these girls are good. A girl crushed a home run. Yeah, they're really, really good. So hopefully they'll win the World Series, and then we can have 2 World Championships.
Let's
in
celebrate.
Lake Mary.
So the Little League World Series softball begins August 3rd in South Carolina. Lake Mary will play on August 3rd. They'll play the winner of Oregon and Washington. That they're still supposed to play later today in the Northwest Regional Final. So we'll find out who they match up against. But yeah, cheering for Lake Mary. It's exciting stuff.
Yeah, our girls go to the World Series. It happens August 3rd through the 10th in Greenville, North Carolina. So we'll be watching them on TV for sure.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I believe it's this coming week that the Little League baseball heads out to get ready for their tournament.
Oh yeah,
as well.
They won the state, right?
Yeah.
So
And
now
they
they're headed on to the Southeast Regionals. A lot
They
going
now
on.
head
So
out. Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Exciting times. LuAnne, we appreciate you joining us for our top 4 at 4. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Bergeron joins me now. And Noah, you've expanded the Fox 35 impact days.
Yeah, that's right, Garrett. The Storm Team, we got together this afternoon and determined it was probably best to just broad brush Saturday through Tuesday together because they're all going to be really hot. Many people outside this weekend just want to raise the awareness, Garrett, the fact that it's going to be really hot. So let's get into it. We got lots to discuss. For tonight, first thing is to make you aware, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, weather impact days. Well, we reserve the life-threatening weather for storm alert days. This is an impact day. The reason why is the high temperature, somewhere between 96 and 100, with the heat index up to 115. Specifically for Monday is the 115 temperatures, but for the rest of the day is up to about 108, 110. Here's that forecast for Monday. We're talking about near 98 degrees, which if that does occur would be the hottest day of the year so far. Record on Monday is 101 degrees, so we'll be within shouting distance of that. The average high temperature this time of the year sits in the lower 90s at about 92 in Central Florida. Historically, we have about 60 days through this point in the year that are in the 90s. So far in 2025, through yesterday, we've had 74. So we're about 2 weeks more than normal in terms of 90-degree days in Central Florida. That still does not rank in the top 10 most, but it's well above average for sure in our 130 some odd years of record keeping we've got here in the Orlando area. So it's been a hot year in terms of 90s, and we're going to have probably the hottest weekend of the year certainly this weekend. Now the rain chances are going to stay pretty low through the weekend. We got 20% tomorrow, 30% Sunday, Monday. Then once we get to next week, the heat dome starts to push away and the rain chances come back from the Atlantic, and we're looking at more typical rain chances for the end of July once we get to the middle part of next week on Wednesday, sitting somewhere around 60%. So if you got weekend plans outside, you're probably mostly dry. Here's the view tonight. Daytona, Orlando, Lake Fairview, Titusville. You can see it's pretty good. It's a great beach. It's a great boating weekend. It's a great pool, water park weekend. Whatever you're doing this weekend, make sure you got a way to stay cool and hydrated because it'll easily be one of the hottest weekends we see all year here in Central Florida for many parts of all of Central and Northern Florida. Out there tonight, we talked about this last night and this morning on GDO. There'd be even less storms, and that is obviously the case. If you look at the radar to my side, there's not a lot. There is one shower. I guess that'd be like Davenport. It came out of Davenport, Four Corners area. It's going through Sumter County here momentarily. There's a little shower near like Mims and Rockledge. Another shower by like Pearson and Palatka. Outside of a handful of stuff, most places are going to be dry for this Friday evening. So if you have plans to be outside, really don't see much of an issue there. Temperature today got to 94 in Ocala and Tampa, 92 the high so far in Orlando, 94 in the Villages, 94 in DeLand so far, and 90 in Cocoa Beach. Here's the temperatures right now. We've had a few showers push on by, which have helped lower the temperatures. Even though they haven't been widespread, they've been right near the reporting sites. And you can see the live heat index. Already New Smyrna is feeling like 108 this afternoon, 102 right now in Orlando, 104 in Gainesville, 95 in Winter Haven, and 97 in Sanford, Lake Mary. All right, so the humidity is up there. Anytime the dew points are above 75, we refer to that as tropical air, and that is definitely what we've got in place right now. In fact, if you look at the dew points, they're 76, 77 in most places. That's very, very soupy air. The temperatures tomorrow continue to get hotter. Today, about 94.5. Tomorrow, 96.7 inland areas. We'll continue to inch upwards, peaking the heat on Monday. Here's the temperatures across the southeast right now, and you can see 102, what it feels like currently, Orlando, Jacksonville, just updated. 104 Memphis, 104 in Fort Smith, Arkansas, 104 in Charleston, 99 in Springfield, Illinois, 97 in Lexington, Kentucky, 99 in Dallas, and 97 in New Orleans. So summer fever is here. We're definitely going to have across many parts of the southeast, Garrett. I think our hottest weekend of the year. By the way, to touch on the tropics, nothing imminent for the next 7 days, but there are some signs maybe as we head into later the first week of August that the Atlantic may start to wake up.
All right. So the main thing this weekend is stay cool.
Yeah, and don't forget too, Garrett, the UV index is at its maximum right now. It starts to get lower once we flip into August. But if you're sensitive to getting sunburns or anything with your sensitivity to sun, you can get sunburnt really quickly out there this weekend.
All right, good word of warning there as we maybe head out to the beach or lay by the pool to try to stay cool. So Fox 35 Storm Team Meteorologist Noah Bergeron, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon. A second day of meetings today between the Deputy Attorney General, the U.S. Deputy Attorney General, and Ghislaine Maxwell meeting in Tallahassee. This comes as the fallout continues over Jeffrey Epstein and the files that the Trump administration has hesitated to release at this point, despite a lot of campaign promises and a big uproar that has really been pretty all-consuming over the past few days and weeks now, as questions abound about what may be in those files. We've seen a number of reports that the Attorney General Pam Bondi had told President Trump that his name appeared in the Epstein files, that she had told him that back in May. Still waiting on some more details about what those files include, and a lot of people have been asking questions about that. Now, today, that meeting with the DOJ and with Ghislaine Maxwell, she served a 20-year prison sentence on 5 counts related to sex trafficking and facilitating Epstein's sexual abuse of underage girls. Earlier today, President Trump was asked about whether he has considered pardoning or commuting her sentence. He said, "I'm allowed to do it, haven't thought about it." Last week, though, President Trump ordered Bondi to unseal the grand jury transcripts related to the investigations of them. There have been issues with that in the courts. So just really a lot of things up in the air still at this point about this. Had an interesting conversation earlier with the investigations editor of the Palm Beach Post. They've been covering this story for a while. If you'd like to see that full interview, you can watch it on Fox Local and on fox35orlando.com. But just a little bit ago, as the meetings between the DOJ and Ghislaine Maxwell wrapped up, we did hear from Maxwell's attorney, David Marcus, who spoke to reporters, began by saying Maxwell answered every question, did not invoke privilege, did not invoke the Fifth Amendment right during questioning. Here's what her attorney had to say to reporters standing outside the courthouse in Tallahassee.
She answered those questions honestly, truthfully, to the best of her ability. She never invoked a privilege. She never refused to answer a question. So we're very proud of her. We're proud of how the process has worked over the past day and a half. I will say this, she has been treated unfairly for the past 5 years. She didn't get a fair trial. We're still appealing to the Supreme Court. We're going to be filing a reply in the Supreme Court on her cert petition on Monday. Remember, people have questioned her honesty, which I think is just wrong. Remember, a juror lied to get onto the jury, admitted to lying to get onto her jury. She did not get a fair trial. No prosecutor even mentioned her until Epstein died. So we feel that the process for GhislaIne has been unfair. She was denied bail. She was treated worse than an animal would be treated in jail when she was first held, woken up every 15 minutes. So we're just trying to get through the process where we are now and get her some relief. So that's where we are today.
Do you feel like you're going to get some relief as a result of the conversations you've been having the last couple of days?
We don't know. We don't know how it's going to play out. We just know that this was the first opportunity she's ever been given to answer questions about what happened. And so the truth will come out about what happened with Mr. Epstein, and she's the person who's answering those questions.
And could this affect her appeal in any way?
We don't think this will affect her appeal. We're appealing on a very important ground, which is the government at the time promised her that, promised Jeffrey Epstein that any potential co-conspirators would not be prosecuted. And so she deserves that promise. And I'm surprised. I don't think President Trump knows that the Justice Department took the position that that promise should not be upheld. President Trump is the ultimate deal maker. He knows that a promise made on behalf of the government should bind the government, and so we're hoping the Supreme Court agrees with us that when the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of Florida promised that no potential co-conspirators would be prosecuted, that bound the Southern District of New York as well.
Are you hoping for a new deal here?
I'm sorry?
What was the focus of the questioning?
They asked about every possible thing you could imagine, everything.
Are you hoping for a new deal as a result of this?
I'm sorry?
Are you hoping for a deal as a result of this meeting?
We're not going to comment on what we're hoping for. We just today and yesterday answered questions.
So still a lot to come up with that. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We're learning more about this house that was mysteriously destroyed in Lake County. And joining us live now via Zoom is Fox 35's Hannah McKenzie, who's been on the ground there, been looking into this all day. And Hannah, first of all, just what a bizarre situation.
Garrett, I don't think you could have picked a better word to describe it. Bizarre indeed. So this call came in just after 7 o'clock this morning to Lake County deputies. Someone called in saying someone had vandalized a house. I mean, you're seeing it on your screen right now. It looks like something that we would usually cover after a hurricane or a tornado, but this was caused, according to law enforcement, by someone on a heavy piece of machinery. Neighbors in the area tell me that they have seen an excavator on this land, on this property before. And if you could see from the Fox 35 drone there, it just looks like the crane of an excavator going in there and taking out chunks of the roof. This was on both sides of the house and a car that was on the property as well, Garrett.
Okay, the big question, why? What in the world?
That is what we are all excited to hear, and we are hoping law enforcement figures that out, and soon. They are working to find out who did this and why. Now, there is kind of a clue on the side of the home. So there's a man's name that is spray painted on the side of the house. I actually tracked that man down. I went to go talk to him. He's an elderly man. He tells me he just got out of the hospital. He tells me he owns the property, Garrett, but he let a woman who he knows bring the trailer home to that land, set it up there, and live there rent-free. Now, he has reached out to that woman today. He says her family's reached out, law enforcement's reached out. No one can track her down, and everyone wants to know where she is and if she had anything to do with this. We still don't know.
But he has no idea why someone would want to do that to him?
I asked him, why is your name spray painted on the side of the house? He said he has no idea.
Wow. What are folks there saying? How are they reacting to seeing this and this happening?
Well, as you can imagine, you can see we've got lots of viewers have been sending us video of them just driving by. It's become a real spectacle in the community. It's right on the crossroads of Pine Island and Monte Vista Road. So it's really an open area to get like that 360 view. So it's become like an attraction. People just driving by, trying to get a glimpse of this home. And some who haven't heard, that it was an excavator or some sort of large heavy machinery that did this have been like, did this explode? Was there an explosion here? What happened? So lots of folks just driving by, looky-loos, trying to get a look at what's going on.
You bring up a good point, Hannah, earlier when you said it almost looks like there was storm damage or a fire or something like that. It really is extensive damage, and you've had a chance to see it, yourself up close. It looks like, I mean, really bad damage.
The whole trailer home to me looks like a total loss, as well as the vehicle that's connected to it. It's a Ford Excursion on the side as well. And this is on both sides of the house, those large chunks just taken out.
Yeah, it is certainly a sight to see. Hannah, we appreciate your digging into this and looking into it, getting some answers, and staying on top of that. So we look forward to seeing your story coming up in a little bit on Fox 35 News. And thanks for joining us here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Of course, Garrett, thanks. And like you said, I'll be on in about 30 minutes.
All right, we will stay tuned for that. We did, I believe, start to lose connection a little bit with Hannah at the end. But yeah, you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for that story coming up in just a little bit. We are also following up on this triple shooting in West Melbourne that happened this week, and we know the suspect in this made his first appearance in court today. We are also learning more about the victims. I want to bring in Fox 35's Randy Hildreth, who has been following this story this week. And Randy, good evening to you. I'm not sure that Randy can hear me. Randy, can you hear me right now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Good afternoon. We appreciate you joining us here, Randy, and just wanted to see if you could give us an update on kind of where things stand, first of all, with this suspect who we know made his first appearance in court today.
Yeah, good evening to you, Garrett. It was quite the dramatic day in a court. 22-year-old Jeremiah Campbell was wheeled into the area to face the judge here at the Brevard County Jail. He was in shackles at his wrists and at his feet, and he was wrapped in, I believe they call it like a turtle suit. And so this is used for people who may be suicidal. And so, coming in, that was what reporters and the camera photographers first saw. And so that was kind of an indication of the tone of what may have happened since he has been arrested and what we're now seeing unfold in front of us. You're looking at the video where he's facing the judge, and you can see him drop his head, and his shoulders are going up and down because he began to cry, and not just cry. He began to sob, and you can see in the video the deputies putting him back into the wheelchair, and he cried as he was wheeled out of that room back to jail. And you can imagine, or I believe maybe the weight of what he's accused of doing, hit him, and he is processing what he allegedly did. Brevard County Sheriff's Office says that Campbell shot and killed his grandparents, 83-year-old George White, excuse me, and his grandmother, 81-year-old Mary White. And they also say he shot and injured a neighbor that George White had gone to run to. He had run to his neighbor's house to get help, gotten inside the house, and Campbell allegedly shot through the door, killing his grandfather, and then injuring a woman who was inside of his neighbor's house. And the video is striking. It was a very dramatic day this afternoon when he appeared before a judge.
And Randy, we've also been learning more about those victims who were killed.
Yeah, so Mr. and Mrs. White, I talked to their children today. I spoke with one daughter and a son, maybe within the last 15 minutes or so, and his son talked about his service. He was a veteran, and then his daughter talked about just how much that they were loved and how much this has just gripped their family, because you have to remember this is a layered situation. You aren't just losing your parents, you have also potentially lost your nephew or your son because of what he is allegedly accused of doing, and now he is in custody. I did also get a chance to speak with some of the community members who knew and loved the Whites. One woman, Bishop Jacqueline Gordon, talked about hearing about what happened in the news, not realizing that the Whites were shot and killed. And when she heard what happened, she said, I just screamed because they were such good people. She worked very closely with Mr. White with an advocacy program that served the community, specifically partnering with young men to try to curb gun violence. And so a lot of what they're processing is not just that they have lost, two great friends, two great community members, but the way in which they lost their very close friends. I want to read one of the quotes that you'll hear, sound bites that you'll hear later on. Mrs. Gordon said, to die this way with gun violence, the one thing that he fought against, it is just overwhelming. That's, one of the things that she said to me in the interview. So a lot of people are processing what's going on. And we did also get an update from law enforcement. A neighbor who was shot, we understand that she has been released from the hospital and is now recovering at home.
Just a devastating tragedy, Randy. And the suspect in this denied bond today, is that correct?
Yeah, so denied bond, and he also told the judge today when asked if he wanted a court-appointed attorney, he shook his head and said no before he was wheeled out. So we'll have to follow next steps with his case and what representation looks like.
All right, Fox 35's Randy Hildreth, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll stay tuned for your story coming up in just a little bit.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon. It is World Drowning Prevention Day today, and this is important, especially here in Florida, because our state has the most drowning deaths in the country. Now, this is something I talked earlier with Megan Ferraro. She's the executive director of the ZAC Foundation, which works to prevent drowning deaths. She's also the chair of the U.S. National Water Safety Action Plan, a group that is working with officials in Orange County to launch the Orange County Drowning Prevention Action Plan. We talked about why these efforts are so important and how to cut down on drowning deaths. Take a listen.
The World Health Organization designated today, July 25th, as World Drowning Prevention Day about 3 years ago. And it's so important because drowning is the leading cause of death for young children in this country. For children ages 1 to 4, it's the leading cause of death, and it's the second leading cause of unintentional death for children under the age of 14. Florida, unfortunately, leads our country in those numbers, and we really want to use today as a day to encourage everyone to enjoy the water, but to do so safely. There are lots of strategies that you can use to do that, starting with ensuring if you have a backyard pool, particularly for those in Florida, to have a 4-sided isolation fence around that pool to prevent that very young age range, those 1 to 4-year-olds, from getting into the backyard pool during a period of time where you don't plan to be swimming. That unplanned swim time is where most of those 1 to 4-year-olds in Florida are drowning. If you're in open water, if you're out on a boat in a river or a lake, please wear a U.S. Coast Guard approved life jacket, a flotation device, so that you can be, easily rescued, so that you can float if you find yourself in trouble. Not just kids, but adults as well. Obviously, we want that close and active adult supervision, and we want everyone to take swimming lessons, not just kids, but adults as well, and CPR classes as well.
Why is that so important that you have those, have that knowledge, the ability to swim at least to some extent, even if you are going to be maybe wearing a life jacket?
Swimming is a life skill. It is a life sport. Some people refer to it as what should be a child's first sport. It's a sport you can do your entire life. It is so good for you physically. It's good for you emotionally. And it is that sport you can do your whole life and with your family, and you can enjoy the water safely if you know how to swim. If you find yourself in trouble, we know that to date in 2025, and this is according to DCF, there have been 73 fatal drownings in the state of Florida. 49 of those involve children under the age of 4. That is a staggering number, and we really want to see that number not go any higher this year. We want parents and caregivers to be aware of those layers of protection you heard me talk about earlier. 4-sided fencing around those backyard pools, life jacket usage in open water, learning to swim, and learning CPR, so that if you should experience a drowning in your community, that you're able to really get that individual CPR at the first moment of distress. We know that if CPR is administered, then the chance of surviving a drowning goes up significantly.
To that end, I know your organization is teaming up with some officials in Orange County, held a roundtable recently, and are working on what would be the first ever Orange County Drowning Prevention Action Plan. Can you talk with us about that and what that looks like?
Yes, absolutely. So on Wednesday, we had a meeting of about 30 stakeholders who met to really talk about how to develop a drowning prevention plan. And the goal of that plan is to raise awareness about the risk of drowning, equipping individuals with the information they need to stay safe in and around the water, and figuring out how to collaborate to get a better picture of the drowning risk in the community of Central Florida. We know that of those 49 drowning deaths that you heard me talk about earlier today, those 49 children under the age of 4 throughout the entire state of Florida who have drowned so far this year, 34 of them have been in Central Florida. And so we really want these stakeholders from Central Florida to understand the risks that their community is faced with. We want those stakeholders to understand the opportunities to provide learn to swim classes for for all children, for special needs communities, for the fire, police, EMS, and resort communities, to understand the risks of water and the benefits of it, how we can enjoy it safely. And so in order to do that, we need to know what the challenges are, and we need to understand what the opportunities to overcome those challenges would be. And this meeting of 30 individuals on Wednesday really brought everyone together. It really helped everyone understand what the issues were, and really working towards developing a plan for Central Florida, which we expect will come out later this year.
And why a coordinated action plan? How does that make a difference when you're talking about something like this?
Well, not only are you bringing together those who are aware of the issue, but you're bringing in folks that haven't really understood the issue. So when you're bringing in state senators and state representatives and city commissioners who have a lot on their plate, this isn't the primary issue that they think about, but bringing them to the table, helping them understand the issue, they'll be able to help us figure out solutions that we wouldn't have thought of. We also had the Boys and Girls Club present, the American Red Cross, the Orange County School District and Sheriff's Departments. Having all of them come together around one table really helps develop unique strategies for prevention and for decreasing that risk of drowning in Central Florida.
Because that's what it's all about. I mean, is it not? I mean, you talk about the numbers and knowing the those are kids, those are people, those are families who are mourning, I mean everyone has the same goal here to prevent these drownings, prevent these drowning deaths, and whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. We don't want anyone else in the state of Florida to suffer the same heartbreaking, tragic loss that so many families have experienced this year. And in order to prevent that, we need this coordinated action, this coalition that's being built, and we need parents at home who are listening today to think about those layers of protection you heard me talk about. We talk about them as the A, B, C, D, and E's of water safety. So that's supervision, barriers like fences going around pools and alarms going out on doors going out to the pool area, classes for swimming and CPR, drain safety, and also device safety, like those life jackets you heard me talk about. And then E, water is everywhere, especially in Florida. We have beaches and canals and lakes and many, many, many backyard swimming pools. And so that supervision is not just about sitting in front of a lifeguard chair, but it's about those parents having that close and constant and active supervision.
What's the bottom line here, Megan? What do you want people to know when they see this?
I want people to understand that we're not trying to scare you. We don't want you to avoid water. In fact, it's the opposite of that. We want you to enjoy water, but to do so safely.
As we go to break here, give you a live look at Daytona Beach with our Hard Rock hotel camera. And a lot of people out there at the beach. Again, just be careful if that is something that you'll be doing, and keep in mind those layers of protection to help prevent drowning that Megan was just talking about. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. That's a live look into the Voters of Tomorrow summit going on in Washington, D.C. right now, trying to engage young people, young voters. We did just a few minutes ago hear from David Hogg, a Parkland survivor who has become an activist in a lot of ways, ruffled some feathers within the Democratic National Committee recently as well. Here's a little bit of what he had to say at this event just a few minutes ago.
Because she didn't come from the traditional political establishment. She was running against somebody, a different Democrat, who had voted not only to arm teachers, but voted to give them $25,000 for being armed. Effectively saying one of the only ways that you could get a raise in Texas is by as a teacher, is by getting a gun. That is insane. And when I was on this campaign and we were out knocking doors with her, not only did we spend $300,000+ to support her, we went and knocked doors with her. And I know the power of actually having hope that things can change, because I knocked on the door of what was supposed to be a 60-year-old woman. It ended up being a 20-year-old guy named Kai, who was shirtless and had gaming headphones on. And when he answered the door and I said, hey, have you heard about this candidate? She supports abortion rights. You know, she's a great community organizer and all this stuff. He said, that's cool, but what corporations are funding her campaign? That was his first question to me as a 20-year-old. And I got to say, because Leaders We Deserve endorsed candidates do not take corporate money, that she's not taking any corporate money. He's like, well, who's funding her campaign then? And I said, I am. Leaders We Deserve is. Our 200,000+ individual donors are. And I got to see Kai's face shift from one of suspicion and distrust to one of excitement. And he said, well, I've never voted in a primary. Can I do that? And I was like, well, if you're registered to vote as a Democrat, yeah. And he's like, well, I am. And I said, well, great. If you take your gaming headphones off and give me your phone number, you'll get a call from Molly herself answering any questions you have in the next 30 minutes. And he's like, okay, cool. And then election night comes. And she's down in the first 60% of ballots come in. Out of about 18,000 votes that we were expecting in order to be able to win, she was down about 1,000. And it was getting worse and worse and worse. And we actually shut down the bar that night. And I went back to our hotel, and it looked like she was not going to pull it off. And then right before I went to bed, I took out my phone, and I hit refresh one last time on the election results page. You guys know the feeling. And it said, with 100% of precincts reporting, Molly Cook wins by 62 votes in that election, become the youngest state senator in Texas. And some of you may not think that it matters because it's a blue seat, but Molly is now spearheading the charge against the ridiculous and unconstitutional gerrymandering that they're trying to do in Texas right now, where they know because Democrats are gaining popularity and power, Republicans are trying to draw them out of it, and Molly is leading the charge against that, when many other people feel like there isn't anything that they can do. That is the power of that one vote, because I called Kai the next day and I said, hey, did you get a chance to vote? And he said, yes, I did. Thank you so much. That was the first primary I ever voted in. And he was her 62nd vote in that election. If people believed that change wasn't possible, if they bought into the bullshit politics of just we can't, of being the party of we can't instead of we can, Molly would have never been elected. Hundreds of people wouldn't have showed up to go door knocking for her. And that's the message I want to leave you all with here today. Nobody is coming to save us. But collectively, all of us can save us. But the biggest obstacle to that, it's not Donald Trump. It's not the Republican Party necessarily even. It's something within ourselves. And it's the belief that there is nothing that we can do to create change. If we had that same mentality, we would have never changed anything after Parkland, because so many people told us it wasn't possible. But we did. We raised the age to buy a gun in our state to 21, and we passed the red flag law. It's been used over 20,000 times. And we've since gone on to help elect people like Maxwell Frost and so many other people. But I want to make sure that you all know that we can't lose faith, as hard as things are right now, because there is a day after tomorrow. As young people, we have the greatest asset that anybody can have on their side in life or in politics, which is the fact that we got time on our side. We're going to outlive a lot of the people in power. Thank God. The question is, are we going to become younger versions of who's currently there right now, or are we actually going to change things? Are we going to change them? Do you guys believe we can? Because I know that we can. Because I know if history teaches us anything, it's that great generations are not born. They're forged in the circumstances of, in the forge of awful circumstances. Because those leaders rise in that moment. But what that requires is all of you running for office, working on campaigns, and getting involved, and finding the people that are not in this room right now, and giving them that little bit of hope that helped to elect people like Sorrell in New York City, right? Where I could see in a campaign where so many people say, young people just don't vote, young people just don't vote. Guess what? The people who said that lost, right? To their own detriment. Do not write off the young people. And let's make sure in the Democratic Party that we understand it's not, oftentimes when they say they want young people, they don't want young people. They want young sycophants that just agree with everything they say, and they don't actually want to analyze why are we losing young people. And the way to change that is to show up and vote and run for office and say, we're going to be that person in the room that actually tells you what you need to hear and not just what you want to hear. You guys ready to do that? Well, let's go out there and let's do that, and let's help turn this thing around. Thank you guys so much.
David Hogg just a little bit ago at the Voters of Tomorrow Summit in Washington, D.C. Here's a live look at the Kennedy Space Center, where we just got word in the last little bit that NASA moving forward with SpaceX Crew 11, and the launch today has been pulled a go after meeting with NASA, SpaceX, their international partner teams as well. So the targeted launch time is going to be 12:09 p.m. coming up on Tuesday, July 31st. That's aboard a SpaceX Falcon